Welcome all you lovely people to another r/entitled parents video. Our first story of the day is by Fluffy Kitties 11. Homophobic entitled mother starts crying after she finds out I watched a show with a few LGBTQ plus characters. She then wants to put me in a church. My mom, the entitled mother of the story, has always been a little bit entitled. And how most entitled parents are, she's also homophobic. There will be a little bit of backstory as well. I also watch and love the show Steven Universe, will be important later. The backstory part. So my mom was once going through a bunch of pictures and saw one with her transgender cousin. I personally don't have any problem with this, but my mom does. She called me in her room during her going through her pictures and asked me if I remembered her cousin Lindsay. Now, with my memory being trash, I told her no, and then she asked me later if I remembered her cousin Josh. She then told me that her cousin Lindsay is now Josh. I didn't think much of it until she started comparing trans people to people with Down syndrome. This kind of set me off a little bit, but I didn't say anything. The main story. One time during online classes, my mom came into my room bawling her eyes out. I asked her what was wrong, and being the emotional kid that I was, I started getting worried and thought I did something wrong. She told me no, but after asking a bunch, she eventually said that she was disgusted in me. Since I was on a break and had to get back to class shortly after, my mom told me that we will finish this conversation later. Honestly, I thought I did something wrong with a friend, and she was gonna make me end friendships with them. The other day, my mom said that she wanted to go on a bike ride. I said sure, and we went on it. This was the time she was gonna finish talking to me. Remember how I said that I watched Steven Universe? That's what this whole thing was mainly about. She said that she could tell I was a little taken back about the things she said about her cousin. She also started off telling me that she was curious why I liked the show, and asked me if the two characters had a wedding and were female. Now, these characters don't exactly have a gender, but all have female appearances. But I told her that yes, there is a wedding with female characters. Then she started telling me that she was earlier asking questions like, why does my kid like this show so much? Does my child like watching this stuff? Etc. I told her that I mainly liked the show because of the story. Eventually, she told me that she wanted to put me in a church, and she feels like a terrible mother for not doing it sooner. I was shocked. She actually wanted to put me in church for supporting LGBTQ+. She told me that she wants me to learn the ways of God and stuff like that. I think she might have forgotten about it, because she hasn't brought the subject up to me at all after that. If OP's mom continues to insist that they should go to church, do you think that OP should even feel obligated at all to even consider going? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Jubetcha, entitled Atheist Mom Gets Drunk at Concert, Irrationally Angry About Religious Imagery, Tries to Drive Me and a Friend Home Drunk. So this happened when I was like 15. My best childhood friend had been kind enough to buy me tickets to see a Gorillaz show in Boston, which is about 45 minutes by car away from where I used to live with my dad. I had wanted my dad to take us, but my mom insisted on going with us instead and bought herself a ticket. I think as a way to spend time with me. She and him are separated, but she lived a state away in Rhode Island, so I didn't spend much time with her. To be honest, she was and is kind of a deadbeat. Wasn't a big deal. I prefer my dad's company over hers, and he's the person I generally saw shows with back then, but whatever. When we get there, she leaves me and my friend in line outside the pavilion and goes to a sports bar to have dinner and a beer or two. I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure if she drank or just ate food, but she usually has a beer with dinner at these types of places, so it's a relatively safe bet she did. She comes back after a while, we get in, things are going fine at this point, and the concert is awesome, especially since Vince Staples opened with like a full set, which was great. She gets like 3 to 4 more beers over the course of the show, so she's definitely under the influence. When they played the song Don't Get Lost in Heaven, which features a gospel choir, and the imagery projected behind the stage was like stained glass style art of the Gorillaz characters, this really upset my mother, who went on to complain about religion being shoved in her face at a concert that, remember, she insisted on taking us to. Now, I don't have a problem with atheism, although I am religious. Jewish though, not Christian. But I think it's ridiculous to go off and get offended about just like encountering religious imagery or themes at all. There's also like, it's art. You don't have to believe in Jesus to appreciate the aesthetics, and the imagery wasn't even super explicit or anything. Beyond that, I do get why atheists feel a bit exhausted by the religion-dominated culture in the US. But at the same time, you just can't expect other people's art to bend to your personal sensibilities. So this was an annoyance, but nothing compared to when the concert was over. She was very obviously drunk, not totally sloshed, but slurring her words, stumbling a little bit, clearly not in the best state to be driving. So I told her that I wasn't getting in the car with her or letting my friend get in the car with her, and she flipped. Starts yelling about how she's not drunk and insulting me and just being generally belligerent. I get kind of mad and tell her that I'm calling my friend's parents to come pick us up. She leaves in a huff and drives off, not even staying in the city with us till my friend's folks show up. To this day, she claims she wasn't drunk. Honestly, it's pretty messed up to me that she would even consider driving her daughter and her daughter's friend home while intoxicated. Not to mention, it's a long drive and involves going on the turnpike. The whole thing was just very annoying and upsetting, and she borderline ruined the night for us. ETA, my mom is even prone to erratic driving while she's sober, adding an extra layer of irresponsibility to the whole thing. I definitely have a lot of respect for OP for insisting that they don't be driven around by somebody that's clearly under the influence. I just feel apologetic for OP for having their concert experience kind of ruined, and also the embarrassment of having your own mother act like that in front of a friend. This next story is by Chocolated Cutie. Entitled Mother demanded I invite her kids to a party that's not even a party. My brother is an ER doctor, and his husband is an ER nurse, so they both work long hours throughout the week. They have twins. We'll call them Anne and Ken. Now, because of their workload, me and my sister help throughout the week by taking the kids after school a few days a week. I have them on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Well, Friday happens to be my niece and nephew's birthday. Now, due to COVID, we can't have the big party they're used to. But I still wanted to make it special. My niece and nephew have become friends with two kids in the building, Sarah and Blake. Their mother, we'll call her nice neighbor, I had become somewhat friends with. Now every time my niece and nephew are over, they play with Sarah and Blake. So I told the twins that Sarah and Blake could come over on Friday for a little birthday sleepover. I worked it out with Sarah and Blake's mom and got everything ready. Now here's where Entitled Mother comes in. As I was coming in the building, Entitled Mother ran up to me. "So you having a party tonight?" I say, "What? No. Sarah and Blake told my kids that they were going to your niece's party at your apartment." I say, "It's not a party, it's my niece and nephew's birthday." So I told them they can have Sarah and Blake over to watch movies. "Well, my kids are upset they weren't invited." I say, "Sorry, but like I said, it's not a party. Just my niece and nephew having friends over." "My kids would love a sleepover." I say, "Oh, well, maybe you should throw one." "You could be nice and invite them. It's not nice to leave kids out." I say, "I don't even know your kids. Sarah and Blake have been friends with my niece and nephew for going on 3 years." "Well, they can always get to know each other at the party." I say, "No, my niece doesn't like strange people. My niece is autistic and hates strangers." "I'm your neighbor, I'm not strange." I say, "You tried to break into my apartment a few days ago." "You're being overly dramatic." I say, "And you're being crazy." "Well, that's rude." I rolled my eyes and walked away before she could say anything else. If she actually tried to break into your apartment a few days ago, I feel like the conversation ends there. I feel like if somebody actually tried to break into my apartment, I wouldn't be trying to entertain any kind of conversation with that person, unless it's involving legal representation. Our next story is by Jason Games YT. I have to pay for my child's sandwich? I recently got a job at Subway, and all has been going fine. Fourth shift, and this is where the story begins. So I'm making sandwiches for people, and all is going fine. Soon, a woman and her daughter come up to the front. They order their sandwiches, and all is good until we're at the register. I tell them the price. Entitled Parent says, "Why is it so expensive?" I say, "It's money over the sandwiches you're getting." "I thought my child's sandwich was free." I say, "I can't do that or word will spread and we would lose money." "Can't I just have my baby's sandwich be free?" Her son was like 7, so it was some name. I say, "Sorry, I can't." "Why do you even need the money?" I say, "Store stuff. I just don't understand." "If you don't understand it, then you don't need the money for it." I say, "Look, I'm a bit tired of this and my shift is almost over. Can you just pay?" "Not if I have to pay for my child's sandwich." I say, "Either pay or leave without them." "Fine, we didn't need your dumb sandwiches anyway." They left without their food, which I'm glad about. I finished my shift and went home, glad I didn't have to deal with that anymore. So, do the employees just get to enjoy some free food, or how does that work? Do you have to toss it? Legitimately curious. And our final story of the day is by Mediocre Med Student 1, entitled Mother Wants to Prevent Me from Becoming a Doctor because I pointed out her son's possible disability. I know this headline sounds like I'm the AH at first, but please hear me out. So, as one can tell by my name, I'm a med student. A couple months ago, my flatmate went abroad for a year. She had been tutoring a boy in English and German. We are German, and the boy's mother asked her if she knew anybody who could replace her while she's gone. As I've done some tutoring before, and I'm fairly good at English and German, my flatmate asked me, and I agreed. When I started, the mother asked me if I could also tutor her son in maths. They used to have another tutor for that, but she had moved cities recently. I'm not particularly good at maths, but the boy's only in 5th grade, 10 to 11 years old in Germany, so I said I'd try. However, it became frustrating very quickly. At first, I was seriously wondering how he made it to 5th grade, because he couldn't even do basic addition. I could tell fairly quickly that it definitely wasn't due to lack of will or laziness. He simply couldn't understand numbers at all. For example, they were learning about fractions at the time, and he couldn't envision at all what the difference between 2/3 and 3/2 was. I had heard about dyscalculia before, so I did some tests with him, like asking him to tell time on an analog clock. He was unable to, making him solve a list of addition and subtraction problems in which each was repeated 3 or 4 times. Different results for all of them, asking him to tell me which of the two numbers is larger, mostly unable to, etc. I was honestly wondering how neither his parents nor his teachers had ever noticed anything. I didn't want to keep getting money for a job I couldn't do, so I sat his mother down after a tutoring session and explained to her that her son has such massive issues in maths that I'm in no way qualified to help him. I said that he shows a lot of signs of dyscalculia, and while I'm not a professional and that doesn't mean he has it, I would suggest having him checked by a professional and organize a professional tutor and not some med student who knows nothing about teaching kids with more serious troubles in school. And she got angry. She told me, and I quote, "Get your freaking shoes and get the freak out of my house." When I asked her what I did, she almost screamed that she would not tolerate strangers telling her that her son was dim-witted or stupid, and that this was a normal and honorable family. I tried to explain to her that I was saying the total opposite of that, because her son having that condition would be nobody's fault, and that he just needs specialized help, which is anything but dishonorable. That's when she started threatening to call the head of my university, because someone like me would be totally unfit to treat patients if I call all of them idiots, and that an arrogant witch like me shouldn't be let loose in a hospital. I knew she couldn't realistically do anything, but it still hurt to hear. I didn't reply anymore at that point, and just took my things and left. I haven't heard from her again, or from my uni for that matter, but I do feel very sorry for her son, because it doesn't seem like she will get him the help he needs. It definitely seems to me like a bit of a case of denial, a lack of willingness to accept that there's a possibility that there's some kind of disability. I'm not really sure what you can do considering how the mother's reacting to any kind of suggestion of a disability, but I'm definitely with OP and hoping that, at least at some point, they consider getting some kind of assistance for their son. Maybe if they continue to try and look for tutors, and the tutors find that there's problems existing, that maybe eventually the inevitable will happen, and some help will be sought out. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So, until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.